Alright guys, my name is the Meta Goblin and today we're going to be counting down the top 5 overpowered weapons in classic World of Warcraft. I've made a number of these videos now and I know people are probably getting a little irritated, and I appreciate that, but every time I have a go at making these kind of videos, you guys keep coming back with better suggestions for items that could have appeared on the list, and I'm determined to keep trying until most people at least agree I've done an alright job at it. So anyway, it's important to note that with this list, the items are overpowered at the stage at which they are obtained. So this could be a stage of your gear progression. For instance, an item is overpowered during the leveling process, or it's overpowered before you step into a raid, or they could be overpowered because better items simply have not yet been released. It might also be overpowered for more of a niche PvP kind of situation, rather than flat out numbers on a DPS meter. I also tried to go for lesser unappreciated items. But anyway, just before I jump in, please give me a quick follow on Twitch and let's get on with it. For number 1 we have the Black Blade of Sharam, which is a rare 4% drop chance from the last boss of Upper Blackrock Spire, General Drakisaf. Honestly, the names in this game are totally ridiculous. Anyway, this is a sword that you won't see very often because Upper Blackrock Spire isn't exactly a raid that you can farm, and many people are more focused on finding different weapons at this stage in the game, and it's only really useful for technically a warrior, but warriors focus more on dual wielding at this point. So this weapon doesn't just summon an extra temporary pet that does, a little damage like the Book of Dread offhand item. Shraham himself who is summoned is quite a nasty piece of work. 1, he has an AoE slow effect. 2, he has an AoE stun. 3, he has a 25% group haste buff, so basically it's a mini Bloodlust before Bloodlust is even in the game. He can cast a plus 50 stat buff to the player that lasts 20 seconds, or he can cast a Flame Strike on your enemy, so all these have a chance to proc when he's summoned. So if you're quite lucky with this weapon, it can be very definitely overpowered. Secondly, we have probably the only fairly well-known item on this list, and that is the Iron Foe and Hand of Justice combo, which are both drops on the last boss of Blackrock Depths, Emperor Dagran Forisian. Although Iron Foe is significantly rarer, with a 2% drop chance, this can be farmed a little quicker with Blackrock Depths lava runs, which can be done in about 30 minutes to an hour depending on your group, right? Iron Foe has the chance to proc an extra 2 attacks on a weapon swing, and we talked recently about why this effect like this is just really overpowered, and it's because extra weapon swings will directly scale as you get better gear. So the better gear you get, the more damage those extra swings will do. And when stacked with Hand of Justice and potentially Thrash Blade, you can do some serious damage. Another gimmick with this spell, or this item, is that you can speak in Dwarven for about 10 seconds after it procs. For number 3 we have the War Monger, which is a very underrated weapon for hunters because of a cheeky 3% hit chance, which is quite rare on a weapon and will help a hunter reach that hit cap before he's even stepped foot into a raid. This weapon is a little rare since it's a world drop, but if you're lucky you should pick it up early and take advantage of it for a long time. For number 4 we have a rare world drop, and that is the Staff of Jordan, right? The reason this is OP is because you can obtain it as early as 35, and it's useful even when clearing molten core content if you haven't picked up anything better during the process. So you're basically walking around with a purple end game dungeon level item when you're level 35, right? It might set you back a few gold though, but it's up to you. Lastly, we have the Warden Staff, which is a very rare world drop but extremely desirable by druids. In fact, it is a weapon that a druid will likely never replace because it's the best in slot for druid tanks. Most druids aren't actually going to roll tank, but you might be in a situation where you can't be bothered waiting for a tank, so you just make the rest of druid go bear form with his agility gear to speed up the grouping process. This is one of those rare items that has a static armor buff, which scales even further with the dire bear form, a cheeky stamina buff, and a static defense buff which will boost the druid's dodge chance even further. So this is why druids keep this item literally in the bank or in their bags for absolutely ever, because if you are ever lucky to obtain it, because it is pretty much one of the strongest druid, well, is the strongest druid tanking weapon in the game. So I thought I'd round the video off with a little unscripted section, just going through some honourable mentions. First of all, we've got Dragon's Core. I was going to put this on this list, but I think it's a bit too well known. If you can dual wield this as a hunter and wind clip the crap out of it, you can get this to proc 3 times. I've seen people do this and have 3 emerald drakes wandering around for them. That's really cool. You've got the manual crowd pummeler, which is probably the best in slot item for feral druids if you really try hard and go in for a feral druid playstyle. The weird gimmick with this item is that it's a limited charge item as a weapon, so it has 3 charges, but after you've used it 3 times it will run out, but it literally increases your attack speed by 50% and it works in cat form, so it's very strong. You've also got a Hand of Edward the Odd, which on basically a proc chance to make your next spellcast instant, which can be really strong for a paladin, protection paladin particularly, because if you cast a Holy Light on yourself, then you're going to generate massive amount of threat, and it's totally instant cast as well. It'll also be really useful for a shaman as well, just to get an instant chain lightning off perhaps. We've also got Arcanite Reaper, which is one of the best in slot pre-raid gear pieces, but primarily probably going to be used in PvP because, you know, again in PvE warriors go more over to the dual wielding side. So yeah, it's probably one of the strongest weapons in the game for PvP before you can step into a raid. You've also got Grillix Cleaver, which is a very unique item from a Zul'Gurub event, which is particularly strong at taking down dragons because it has an extra damage buff basically just for Dragonkin exclusively. You've also got the Executioner's Cleaver, which is obtained very early on in the leveling process, and it has 1% hit chance and a really high strength stack. That's what I was trying to say. And last one, probably Smites Hammer. Another great option, basically mostly for feral druids. That will last them forever because obviously weapon damage isn't really particularly important for feral druids, but the stats are, and it's a big wonk of, you know, strength for a feral druid. So anyway, that's pretty much where I'm going to end the video there, guys. My name is Goblin. Until my next video, ciao.